Last month, YouTuber, Izzy Conspiracist, and BH Ultra released a video on their YouTube channel going over every single Adult Swim published and developed game. Said video featured a ton of creators, both popular and up-and-coming. I was also there. With his permission, I decided to upload the segments I made for the video onto my channel as well. I know this seems like a bit of an anticlimactic return to YouTube given my recent output, but I've been working on bigger and better videos while biding my time. A few of those set to release very soon. So think of this video as the beach episode for the channel. Everyone's favorite. And if you like this, be sure to check out the original video this came from, link in the description below. A lot of creators came together for this one, and I'm really proud of what the came up with. Without further ado, let's get into it. Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
If you need legal help, call Harvey Birdman at 1-8.
If there's two things that I love, it's Adult Swim and Ace Attorney. Wait, that's not Ace Attorney, that's So when I found out there was going to be a Harvey Birdman video game coming out in 2007, you can imagine how shocked I was. The answer is not very, because I was neither into Adult Swim nor Ace Attorney when I was 8, but I finally played through it. And do I regret making that choice, or is this a peak video game? Well, let's find out. But first, a brief history lesson, because those are always fun. I'm going to assume that the majority of people watching this know what Harvey Birdman is, but for those of you that don't, it was one of Adult Swim's original shows that continued the trend of taking an established Hanna-Barbera character and repurposing them for a more adult-oriented cartoon that was a completely different format, this time turning the character of Birdman into a lawyer. Not only that, but a bunch of Hanna-Barbera's classic lineup of characters have also been reworked to fit the show, whether that be as part of a court case or as Harvey's co-workers. The Peter Potamus timeline is insane. Bro went from worldwide globetrotter, to sexist lawyer, to Joe Rogan, to weeaboo. Actually, that sounds about right. Now, as for the game, there's actually a weird story behind this one. So in 2005, video game publisher Midway Games signed a deal with Cartoon Network to not only publish games based on Ed, Edd and Eddy, Grim Adventures, and Dexter's Lab, but also some Adult Swim shows, including Aqua Teen, Breck Show, C-Lab, Space Ghost, and of course, Harvey Birdman. Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro-Am released in November of 2007, and right after a small delay of about 3 months, Midway finally released the Harvey Birdman game on PS2, PSP, and Wii in January of 2008. Except for some reason, they used their Japanese name on the startup screen. It really is such a beautiful and complex language. Yeah, so for some reason that I cannot find at all, Midway was actually not the publisher of this game, and instead Capcom published this, along with High Voltage Software developing it, aka the team who developed the Family Guy game. They basically made the Aqua Teen game, supposedly gave the reins to Capcom for Harvey Birdman, and then just flaked on those other games. But enough stalling, let's get into it. For full transparency, I'm playing the PS2 version of this game. I don't own a PSP, but from what I can tell, it's basically the same exact game. But the Wii version is a completely different experience if this one commercial is anything to go by. It seems to be some sort of co-op party game where everyone is sharing one Wiimote. Seems like a wild time. Maybe one day I'll try it. So, the Harvey Birdman video game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how or why Capcom made this, but I can tell you this was 100% the right call, because this is just Ace Attorney in all but name, and it fits the formula perfectly. Basically, this game is a visual novel adventure game split up into two different mechanics. The first one is court trials, where you listen to witness testimony and either press the dialogue to get more context, or object using evidence gathered from the other mechanic, investigations. Here, you travel from place to place, picking up evidence and talking to various people related to the crime at hand. Investigations makes up the majority of the game's length, and I do enjoy them. for the most part. But like with Ace Attorney, the trials are easily the most entertaining part. You need to line up your logic perfectly in order to take down the culprit, and I think it makes for an overall better game feel. And as if the similarities to Ace Attorney weren't already strong enough, there's so much more it took from the structure alone. There are 5 cases in total. The first case is just a trial. The third case is the worst one in the game. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it at this point. Obviously, this isn't as in-depth or robust as Ace Attorney. After all, this is a budget licensed tie-in game to a cartoon, so the whole thing will take you about 3 to 4 hours to complete if you know what you're doing. But I gotta say, for having such a stigma about it, they actually managed to surprise me with the overall quality of the final product. The most impressive thing right off the bat is that almost the entire game is fully voice acted, something that even the series it was inspired on hasn't accomplished yet. And for the most part, they were able to get back the entire voice cast for the game, and it all sounds like they haven't missed a beat since the show ended in 2007.
Well, everybody, everything's back to normal. And Peanut X, do you have anything to say to me?
Drawing a blank? Something to do with you loaning me your crest?
No, you can thank me for not pressing charges.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could. But I won't!
The game even has bonus content, which again is kinda crazy for a licensed budget game. In each case, there's a secret movie that you can unlock by selecting a certain phrase at some point. These secret movies mostly boil down to clips from the show, but it's something. And we even get a tiny blooper reel. Again, it's only 2 scenes. Wish we got something a bit more substantial, but it's still something. But the main attraction to unlocking these secret movies is that each of them are accompanied by a cutscene that features a character from the Street Fighter series, which is wild to see in a Harvey Birdman video game. Never draw the characters in this style again, my god. Now, this game does show its budget from time to time, and although none of the occurrences are deal breakers, they are still important to highlight. For starters, the animation in the cutscenes looks worse than the show, but not only is that to be expected, it's actually not that much of a downgrade. It's still noticeable, especially when they cut the clips of the show within the game, but they managed to pull through with what they had. Speaking of, this game is really only ever going to appeal to Birdman fans. Like, you're going to get nothing out of this if you've never watched the show. And even if you have, you better have seen every episode and remembered what happened, because they love to pull context from the episodes in the most remember when this happened way. Again, not a deal breaker, but it can get obnoxious at points. Unfortunately, that's not even the worst issue. I mentioned that most of the game is voice acted, and that is true. The only parts that aren't voice acted are the investigation scenes. You might think I have an issue with this, but to be honest, I get it. They really didn't need to have voice acting for what is essentially Harvey's inner dialogue. Plus, you still get fully voice acted cutscenes when talking to people during the investigation scenes. In reality, my issue comes from the choice they made during the trial portions. For context, in Ace Attorney, you can press every statement of a character's testimony, and while not all of them are essential to moving the plot along, each one has its own unique branch of dialogue that, at the very least, keeps the game fresh and entertaining. In the Harvey Birdman game, sometimes pressing a character's statement will get you this, but most of the time, you'll get one of 5 or 6 stock videos of Harvey going, I don't think that's right, or the judge intervening or something like that. And these happen almost all the time, and it is genuinely the most frustrating thing about this whole game. If I hear Mentok say, Harvey, beware the mind taker one more time, I might take my mind to its early grave, I'm not gonna lie. But honestly, despite me bitching about this game for a bit, do I still enjoy it? Yes, absolutely, I love this game. It combines the snappy Ace Attorney mechanics with the witty and charming dialogue, humor, and characters of Harvey Birdman. Albeit it's not as fast-paced as the show, but that's to be expected from a multi-hour-long video game. It's fun, it's fast, it's got that same Harvey Birdman humor from the show, and despite having the gross dangly parts showcased from time to time, it manages to overcome those issues and become a full package. Haha, package. If you're a fan of Harvey Birdman, and especially if you are a fan of Ace Attorney, I definitely recommend this one. You're going to have a great time. My personal favorite is Case 4. It somehow manages to show its age, with the case sparking from the dangers of pirating music and burning it onto CDs, and yet still be relevant in today's day and age, where a merger threatens to put everyone out of a job. Truly nightmarish times we live in.
You remember my twin brother Bill, who founded 7 & 7 with me? Bill left to found another law firm, and it's a huge success. We've decided to pool our genes to make something larger than either of our parts. Ha ha! Firm growth!
You mean a merger?
No,
Oh, no.
I hate mergers. I mean, yes, that's it exactly.
Oh no. Topical. Topical. And it's terrible. Oh god, the humanity. Jazzpunk.
Ghost! 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 Ghost!
For full transparency, I played Jazzpunk Director's Cut on Steam, which included the Flavor Nexus DLC. There's a few differences that I'll go over in a little bit, but for the most part the game is basically the same as the base game. I just played this version because I didn't have access to the original version. In 2014, developers Necrophone Games teamed up with Adult Swim Games to publish their hit indie title, Jazzpunk, on PC. I vividly remember the marketing for this game when it was announced, and being very excited for this one. I think I remember watching PewDiePie play through the game, which got me even more pumped. Now, in 2014, I had one of those dinky little MacBooks that couldn't play anywhere, and yet, even that could play Jazzpunk, so I purchased and downloaded the game on Steam, and back then, I was addicted to this game. I could not get enough. Upon replay, how does it hold up? Well, first things first, let's talk about the story. No, seriously, let's discuss. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so yeah, the game's story isn't exactly its strongest suit, but there's a reason for that, which we'll discuss a little later. Basically, from what I could gather from what the game shows and tells us, and from everyone's favorite online encyclopedia, you play as Polyblank, a secret spy who goes on missions all around the world in the 50s. But this world is different than the one that we all know and tolerate. This is a world where Japan conquered North America, so a lot of what goes on in this game is very different than what we see and know in the real world. I mean, AI sex bots? Like that's ever gonna happen. Now that sounds like a very bleak world, one where the US lost the Second World War, and based on what was said in a few interviews by the game's developers, it seems like originally, the game was going to be a bit more somber and morbid. However, they decided to shift focus and make the game a full-on comedic experience. And I think that was the right call, because man, this game might be over a decade old, but it is still really, really funny. A lot of trendy indie games that come out nowadays that aim to be more comedic do succeed, and I think that's important to note, but they exist in this vacuum where, while in the moment they are very funny, I feel as though the humor is so focused to appeal to the here and now, and the in the moment, that the longevity of these games' humor will tend to not be as strong. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that mindset, nor am I saying that every indie game that strives to be this comedic falls into that pool, but it is something I've noticed. Jazzpunk, meanwhile, manages to have a shockingly timeless humor, thanks to its visual gags, dialogue, and yes, even its reference humor, which it is abundant with. I know reference humor strikes a nasty chord of laziness with a lot of people, and I'm not here to change your mind, but I'll give props to the team because the references never feel forced or dragged out. There's never a reference to something just for the audience to point and say, I understand that reference, because there's always more meat to them. Like there's one gag where you look through a pair of binoculars and it's a James Bond gun barrel joke. And that's pretty funny on its own, I guess. But that's not the only layer to the joke. The binoculars aren't on the ground level, so when you exit the little cutscene, you see the James Bond character floating there for a second before he falls down to the ground. See, the jokes are very layered like that. There's always something else going on with them, and that's not exclusive to only the references. So yeah, the comedy plays a major part in this game, and because of that, the story does take a bit of a backseat. But honestly, I don't really care that much at all. Each mission gives you a clear objective, and you can just go from point A to point B to get through it, and you will feel comedically satisfied, but you're not fully experiencing the game if you do so. All the levels are jam-packed with tons of extra little things to do, all of which bring their own comedic flair to the table. Some of them are quick and easy jokes, while others are full-on side quests that can take a pretty hefty amount of time and even carry on into other levels. And then there's some of them that are just reference humor stuff, but ramped up to 11 by going all in on the joke. One of my favorites is this wedding cake found at the resort. For those of you that haven't played this game before, Take a wild guess as to what happens if you interact with this cake. If you said play a Quake-style deathmatch game called Wedding Cake, where all the AI characters are wedding guests and all the weapons are wedding themed, like a champagne bottle, then you'd be wrong. It was actually patched to be called Wedding Cake for the director's cut. Speaking of, I want to go into more detail about the changes, but before that, I have to give praises to the art and music as well. The style of this game is so poppy, I love it, and the characters are all just modeled after those little cartoon people you see on bathroom doors, so they can't really use their limbs or bend or anything, so everything looks a bit wonky and it works very well. And the soundtrack is great too, props to Luis Hernandez for this one. The opening alone is an all-time banger, and you can actually purchase the soundtrack on his Bandcamp, which was just officially released last year. Anyways, onto the differences. I'm going based off what I've seen online, since I don't believe there's an official document anywhere listing all the changes, so I apologize if I messed anything up. So in 2016, the publishing rights for the game were relinquished from Adult Swim Games to Necrophone Games, and they released a director's cut on PS4 as well as on PC a year later, which also included a lost episode titled Flavor Nexus. The DLC is just another 40-ish minutes of gameplay, but it's just as packed with the same humor that Jazzpunk has that I love. As for the changes to the main game, from what I've seen, the first and last levels are pretty much unchanged. The resort level got some new in-depth jokes added, but that's basically it. But the Japan level got a whole plethora of new additions, like a wrestling ring and a cyberpunk side mission, to name a few. These are all optional and don't really change the main story of the game, so if you don't really care about that kind of stuff, you don't even have to interact with it. Though possibly, the craziest change is what they did to Wedding Cake. Oh, sorry, I mean Wedding Cake. They gave it a complete overhaul, now having multiple maps and allowing for multiplayer? They did not have to go this hard, and yet they did, and I fully respect them for it. Honestly, me talking about this game does not do it enough justice. Pick up this game on PS4 or PC, I promise you it's worth your time. Not every joke will land with you, and some stuff hasn't aged the best. It does make me raise an eyebrow or two.
At least I can cook these fries for dinner.
But for the most part, this is hands down one of the most timelessly funny games of all time, and I cannot recommend it enough. Remember kids, drugs save lives.
Oh my god.